Collierville is finally situated among the vine-clad hills and fertile valleys of West Tennessee, on what is conceded to be the highest point in Shelby County. The irregularity of the site gives it an element of picturesque beauty. To the south and east are hills covered with gigantic trees and lovely foliage. On the north side, the fertile valley of Wolf River. Excerpt from an essay written by Miss Rosebud Moss, 1882. Hello, Carol Moling here. Thank you for joining me on a walk. I want to share one of my favorite places, Halley Lake in Collierville. As we enjoy the sights of my neck of the woods in West Tennessee, I will include some literacy, serendipity, and history, which all adds up to the number one reason for membership in DKG. Let's get going. The town of Collierville, located 30 miles east of downtown Memphis, is the second oldest town in Shelby County. Citizen involvement continues to move Collierville forward. The Halley family developed Overton Square in Memphis, and the family played a major role in the development of Collierville. My house is off Halley Parkway, the main street in my subdivision, so Halley, H-A-L-L-E, is a familiar name around these parts. I'll tell you more about it as our walk takes us to the town library, which is adjacent to the lake. Speaking of the library, Storywalk is coming up. Storywalk is a project sponsored by Friends of the Library, where many of our DKG sisters have served. A special shout out to Lou Tesmar of Beta Gamma, who faithfully has served our community supporting literacy through Friends. While walking the path around the lake, people can enjoy a story along with the outdoors. Here is the first of the 20 Storywalk displays. At the time of this video, the book, The Snowy Day, is the selection. Elementary education majors, what is significant about the book, The Snowy Day? I always recall a fact from my children's literature course from long ago when I see the book, The Snowy Day. You'll see me pass several displays. I won't show them all as Storywalk is copyrighted, but each has a thought question to engage conversation and a movement activity to promote exercise connected to the page. Your chapter might want to start a Storywalk project in your community or consider supporting an existing one. I'll have more information on the reference slide at the end. But you know, creative folks have adaptations of Storywalks on Pinterest. I walked during the winter and enjoyed the book Polar Express. I saw this mom and little boy stopped at one of the displays. My heart was thoroughly warmed when I heard their conversation. The page asked, "Listen, what do you hear?" And the little boy said, "I hear a train." And I thought, sure, it's his imagination because of the picture. But no, his hearing was better than mine. And just then, I heard the train as it came through Collierville, right on schedule. I have certainly used the library during the winter and checked out Get Your Life Back, Everyday Practices for a World Gone Mad by John Eldredge. His research shows that the average person spends 93% of their time indoors in a fake world. Artificial lights, climate, wax fruit, and smells, instead of the life intended to be lived through our senses. The rescue of the soul takes place in the real world. Eldredge points out that something we sometimes overlook in the Gospels is the in-between times of walking from one town to another. There was downtime in transitioning. It was during these transitions that the disciples got to have Jesus to themselves. We can find God in our walks too. Many times I just say, Lord, what pace do you have for me? In the 23rd Psalm, God could have taken David to many, many indoor locations. Instead, he took him to nature, his grandeur. The feeling of restoration is when you fall into bed and it's as if certain events of the day never happened. Helen MacDonald, in her book, H is for Hawk, because she had a childhood fascination with hawks, was renewed when she felt her world was collapsing. In the woods, she unwrinkled her soul. Nature heals, nature restores. We are rounding the halfway point and approaching the bridge. One of my favorite parts of the trail. I enjoy the clickety-clack of my footsteps as I cross the bridge, and I usually pause to look at the water and listen to its flow. Van Gogh is attributed with the quote, "The great thing is to gather vigor in reality. Take a walk. Encounter weather. Our soul is the vessel he heals." Some of you might be familiar with Kay Harms, Harms. She is a speaker and writer on faith-based matters. Kay has a YouTube channel, Dress My Day, for ladies over 50. And I find her advice motivational. Of course, she suggests try and walk every day, even if it's a short walk. Then she said, whenever you dress in the morning, try and put on something that will encourage you to dash outside. You will be more prone to get up and move. And of course, our goal of 10,000 steps per day can be broken down. And Kay says try 250 steps every hour. The point is to move and to keep that metabolism higher, burn calories, and build muscle. An increase in the production of endorphins helps regulate our moods, feed our brains, and rest better at night. Joint health will improve with consistent movement. Plan outings that include walking, strolling, and exploring. And give yourself credit for progress. Read the research on what happens to your body when you walk just 30 minutes a day. This part of the path has an incline, which affords a view of where we have been. The cross from First Baptist Church comes into view at times. Collierville First Baptist is Betty Only's church. I had the pleasure of joining one of their Zoom Bible studies early on in the pandemic. I took a photo of the cross on one of my walks and shared it with them one day, and I told them how uplifting it was for me to see it. As we round the end of our walk, we see the 3 final displays. They tell about the book's author, information on Storywalk, and future walks. There's that fact. Yes, the Snowy Day is widely seen as the first picture book with a black child as its hero. Did you remember that? I've reminded you about the physical benefits of walking, and then there's the serendipity. On the day I was filming, I heard a familiar laugh, and who do I behold but Laura Evans and Carol Shaw, DKG sisters from Alpha Sigma Chapter. Sharing time together was an added benefit to my day. Say hey, Laura.
Hi.
And say hey.
Hey, you don't know who I am.
Carol.
I've been a member for 4 years.
Laura pointed out that I was wearing my State shirt. My walk took on many surprises, so I thought I would take you on up to the Collierville Library. It's such a nice facility, and here's some history as we walk along. For many years in rural areas of Shelby County, there was little or no library service. In 1931, a great step forward was taken when the bookmobile came into existence. Children and adults were thrilled when they saw the library on wheels coming. The bookmobile would stop at Collierville Square, and card tables were brought out to serve as counters to check books in and out. After the bookmobile was discontinued in 1951, Collierville was not serviced in any way by the Shelby County Library System. Then on March the 2nd of 1956, after much hard work and many hours of planning, the first public library was opened in Collierville with 3,000 books and Mrs. James Cowan as the newly appointed librarian. Does that name sound familiar? Betty Cowan only? Yes, Sue Cowan was Betty's mother. The public library opened in a building that had once been a restaurant. Betty, in her oral history, refers to it as a former hamburger joint, and her mother credited the lingering sense of food enticing many to visit the library. The mail carrier and others built the shelving. Betty's dad, James Cowan, with his degrees in languages, taught just about every subject at Collierville High School except home economics. He enlisted the help of students to build boxes designed to transport shelves of books in order. During one of Betty's oral presentations, the mayor of Collierville was in attendance and spoke up to share that he was one of those boys who helped Mr. Cowan build those boxes. Mrs. Cowan remained in charge for 17 years of service and the only local person to serve as librarian when she retired. She did have help because Betty's dad would take over the evening shift when it turned dark. Truly a community and family effort. In the late 1990s, David Halley, that name again, donated 5 acres of land for a new library facility. He had approached and helped to arrange a donation of $575,000 from Mrs. Elsie C. Birch in honoring her late husband, Lucius E. Birch. Mr. Birch was an attorney, conservationist, and civil rights advocate. They lived in Collierville, and he practiced law in Memphis. On March the 3rd, 2001, the grand opening ceremony for the $6 million facility was held. Friends of the library volunteered for Southern Living Magazine's Southern Living Idea House in Collierville and received about $25,000 from ticket proceeds. Since 2004, the town of Collierville fully owns and operates the library. Since 2015, the town of Collierville manages the library, which eliminates dependence on other area libraries for books and materials. Betty Only's oral history of the library is a historical treasure and a reminder to us to record these insights while we can. Let's keep moving. My Beta Gamma sister, Pat Bogan, once told me, it's better to wear out than to rust out. Nurture those relationships. I have credited Dr. Annie Webb Blanton as having said, the number one reason for membership is relationships. I could not cite that quote, so I went to the top, to DKG International President Becky Sadowski. She told me that while she couldn't recall the exact quote, the idea is woven throughout Dr. Blanton's interviews and her own writing. Becky offered to contact Constance Hogue, who serves on an international committee and is an author of Our Heritage 3. Wow, what supporting relationships we have in DKG. There are health benefits right there for us. We're in a win-win situation. So the number one reason for membership in DKG is relationships, and that should be our answer. I've certainly enjoyed our walk and sharing my town with you, and bye-bye.